Hello, welcome to another video for Winter's Bloom. This video is going to be about finding your gifts and sharing them. Something that Sophia and I have been talking about for a while. We hope this is a little bit more of a practical video that's also rooted in our personal experiences. And it is along with the June theme of the month, Winter's Bloom June theme of the month, which is healing and sharing your gifts. So yeah, we just wanted to tie that all nicely together. When I was younger, I kind of went through a lot of different things that I wanted to be when I grew up, or whatever you want to call it. When I was really young, I used to love to write. I would write all these stories. I think I grew up, well, before I even knew how to write, I would always think of these stories inside my head, oftentimes, in that moment as I was going to sleep, or even just walking around, because my parents would let us have free reign. They would just let us play outside. And sometimes I'd be with my brother, sometimes I'd be alone, and I would just tell myself these stories as I was walking around or playing around outside. And then once I was able to learn how to write, I started to put these stories onto paper. So I wrote a lot when I was a kid. Then I really started to love animals and started to love the water. And so for a long time, I really wanted to be a marine biologist. And that's what I would tell everyone. I'd be like, I'm going to be a marine biologist, and when I get married, I'm going to have a scuba diving wedding because I love underwater animals so much. Then I went to high school and I kind of fell out with writing a little bit. I did a poetry course and a creative writing course, so it was always there. But I think what was so frustrating with me in high school was all of the analysis of the books that we were reading, because in the back of my head I was always questioning, the teachers are telling us this is what the author means, but if the author were a fly on a wall, like, would he or she agree with what we're saying? Basically, I was questioning what they were telling us was in the theme of the book or in the imagery. And I think back then I even knew that it's not just one way of interpreting a book. Everyone can interpret a book or the themes or the motifs in different ways. So I became much more excited about science, chemistry, biology, stuff like that. When I got to college, I was really more into sciences, conservation, environmental sciences, all that stuff, just because I knew that the way that we were treating the earth wasn't very good.
I wanted to start by sharing an extract from my book, Conversations at Crossroads. Yes, it's a shameless plug, but also I think this extract really captures well that progression of me trying to navigate finding what my gifts are and finding how I can manifest that and use that to share with other people. So this extract is taken from chapter 13 on dreams. As far back as I can remember, to the age of 11, I wanted to be a teacher assistant. At the time, I was in year 6 and we had a teacher assistant called Mrs. Aileen, who was a tall, skinny, beautiful lady from Barbados. She had sparkling green eyes, a soft smile, and a gentle aura. Over the months that she was with us, I remember watching her sitting at the back of our classroom, marking our homework or trimming worksheets and gluing them into our exercise books. She would always put gold stars when marking our work, would never use red, which at this point I had begun to associate with bad, and drew the most perfect ticks, accompanied with the neatest handwritten comments in our selected favourite colour. I was fascinated with Miss Eileen, of course, because in part she looked like me, but also because she seemed to be that perfect example of an adult. Organised, consistent. She always used the same colour pen to mark your book, and beautiful from the inside out. I remember going home and setting my younger sister, who was then in reception, homework and spelling tests. I would try to mimic the way in which Miss Eileen marked our books, drawing a lopsided star in place of where a sticker should have been. When our teacher asked us for our yearbook, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" my answer was naturally a teacher assistant. I told Mama, and she told me that this would probably change over the years, but I was adamant that this was going to be my future job. She sighed and said, "Sophia, you are still young." How right she was. My next short-lived dream was becoming an actress. I can't remember exactly how this one was birthed, but I know it has its roots in my creativity. Drama was the only creative subject which I really enjoyed in secondary school. I disliked art because I wasn't good at it, and emphasis was placed on being good and not necessarily having fun. Music was much the same. Year 11 had already introduced us to the technicality of music and the world of favouritism. with students who already had base knowledge of a musical instrument, often given more opportunities to develop it. But drama was for everyone. You could be the next Daniel Radcliffe or Emma Watson, or you could be fantastically awful. No one would care and no one would judge. I think my love for drama also grew in part because of my teacher, Miss Anderson. The two most important components of her class were fun and expression of self, and when those are the things that you are marked on, it's pretty hard not to do well and have a good time in the process. She saw that I really enjoyed drama and so encouraged me to pursue it outside of school as well, and suggested I join a weekend class at a theatre school in London called Sylvia Young. I joined, excited to be actively pursuing something I enjoyed, for probably the first time ever, but I was quickly disappointed when I arrived and realised that here was the real world, where fun was no longer the priority, where everyone somehow seemed to be in competition with each other. I think I attended for a year before realising that it really wasn't for me. At this point I was around 14 and it was time to select what subjects I wanted to continue for my GCSEs. It was also the time that everyone around me seemed to be urging me to find a proper and more serious stream. I still decided to take drama GCSE, but was also being prepped by adults in my life to make what they called a contingency plan. I think this was one of the many confusing ages growing up, when you're asked to decide what you want to be rather than what you want to experience, and you're expected to sort of have an answer, despite not knowing fully who you are and what you desire in life. I remember discussing my GCSE options with Mama, and feeling immensely pressured at the prospects that the choices I made now would be planting the seeds for what I'd be doing for the rest of my life. I'm sure you can imagine how much the anxiety only increased when the choice of 6 optional GCSE subjects was reduced to 4 A-level choices in sixth form. We discussed, and Mama, like any good West African parent, suggested becoming a doctor. I held on to this dream for a year or two, not fully convinced to start with, and relieved that my poor skills in maths and physics were already making the decision for me. Fast forward to university. I still didn't know what I wanted to do when I finished. I still felt lost, and I still felt like most adults were giving me pretty crappy advice. My sixth form at the time was so focused on making sure they achieved a 100% university acceptance rate that they focused more on the application rather than on helping students decide what they wanted to study. The pressure of the application process only intensified if you were lucky to be one of those few students whom they felt were worthy enough for the Oxbridge applications. I was one of them, and so my process of applying for university became more to do with which university I'd be going to, and less to do with what I'd be studying. Given the very traditionally academic structure of my courses at sixth form, no one really gave us advice about applying for more interdisciplinary subjects, such as international relation and social anthropology, to name 2 subjects that I was surprised to know existed when I arrived at university. Combined with this was the fact that I didn't know where to look for more information. My degree choices were looking pretty much limited to the subjects I had studied at A-level. So I applied to university unknowing of a whole world that existed outside my 4 subjects, without the slightest interest in my job prospects, but focusing instead on what I liked studying and what I would like to continue studying, at least in that moment. At times I've propped open the "what if I could go back" box, but ultimately I'm glad that I made my decision in the way that I did, as although it's taken me a lot longer to realise what I want to do in the future, it's led me down avenues I wouldn't have taken otherwise and presented me with opportunities and skills I might not have had the chance to do if I had taken the shortcut. I've also learned from this experience that it's really important to ask yourself who you want to be in your professional capacity, rather than what you want to do for the rest of your life, because you are more than just that role. Knowing what experiences you want to have will determine what jobs you want to do. Start from there, and I find that the balance is more sane and that you are more likely to choose a career path from which you can reap the fulfillment and satisfaction that you desire. So, what is my dream now? It is exactly as I said, all the things I've wanted to be over the years, but now transformed into the experiences that I wish to create in my future. It's born from the organisation that I loved in being a teacher assistant, the creativity that I desired from acting, and the helpfulness that I thought I could offer through being a doctor. My dream, in a nutshell, is to move to the Gambia and set up my own grassroots projects. That's it.
Transitioning slightly into now, so now I have a few different interests. What I'm doing in this moment, because we are in coronavirus land still, is I am working with Sophia to grow Winter's Bloom, and that is a platform that features more of our reflective writing. It's a lot of personal writing rooted in our personal experiences, but we do also reflect on stuff that's happening. Like, we've written an article about what has been happening in terms of abortion in the US. Sophia's written an article about the coronavirus vaccine in the UK. We have a mix of personal and societal or universal stuff. We also have published some books of poems, so we are into that creative realm as well. So the writing from when I was a kid has come back up. Basically what we're trying to do is we are trying to share our stories and also create a platform where others might feel empowered to share their stories. So I think in that way that interest of being a storyteller has been there throughout my whole life. I am also working on my sister's farm at the moment, not the actual farming. I'm more helping out with their girls because we're homeschooling at the moment, but I am helping to bring their vegetables to market. And eventually I would love to go back to starting my own nature-based organization, probably a nature-based preschool, because I love the young years and I love that whole exploration and playfulness that they have, and how the outdoors can create a very valuable framework or opportunity for them to explore their physical, emotional bodies.
So I wanted to depart from that slightly longer than expected extract from my book, because when posing the question of finding out what your gifts are and how you can share them, I feel that they are in many ways intertwined with your dreams, the dreams that you have as a kid and the dreams that continue to change and to transform over the years. I feel that those dreams all have in them an essence of what your gift is and what you feel that you can offer to the world. And so I think our gifts show up when we probably least expect it and in ways that we probably don't even know that they are showing up. I think it's hard sometimes to see your gifts as gifts because you just think it's, something that comes easy and naturally to you is something that comes easy and naturally to everyone else. Or we just feel that we're faking it and that we're not as great as everyone is saying that we are, or that the things that we think we're good at, we're actually not good at. As the saying goes, comparison is the thief of joy, and I think that is what really steals away our ability to acknowledge our gifts and to act on them and to share them. There's always going to be someone who's better than you, and whatever it is that you want to do and whatever you feel that your gifts are. But what makes your gift special is that it's you who's doing it and it's unique to you, and the way that you bring life to that gift, the way that you share it with others is only something you can do. And so one of the ways that I see my gift manifesting now is through Winter's Bloom, is through this platform, is through the ability that I feel that I have to connect with people, to empathize with people, to understand different perspective, and the open-mindedness that I feel that is in no means like the most open-minded in the world, but it's still a gift that is unique to me. I see it in my smile, which might seem like something that anyone can do, anyone can smile. And it actually took me a really long time to acknowledge that my smile is a gift. But not everyone smiles like me. Not everyone has a smile like me. Not everyone gives their smile as freely as I feel that I do sometimes, even though that has got me into pickles a couple of times. But the point is, it's the small things that you don't necessarily acknowledge as being unique to you that are the exact things that are unique to you.
Some of the more practical tips that I have, or advice to help people find their gifts if you're just really unsure about what you want to do, is, Sophie and I are both a really great believer of how time is not linear. Like, it's not birth to death and that's it. It's very much cyclical. And there are many ways that I feel I go back in time or even forward in time and don't even necessarily know it. And so my advice to you would be to go back into how you spent your time as a child. What were some of those things that really made you feel engaged, empowered in your body? And try to figure out ways that could manifest itself in your real life. When in doubt, go back to the things that you keep doing. Before we published our first book of poems, I had been writing poetry just for myself because it was a way that I could release pent-up emotions. When I felt super, super happy or super sad or just so much turmoil going on inside, I would write poems.
So a couple of practical things that I would like to share with you guys if you are kind of searching for your gift and searching for your dream as well, because as I said, I think the two are very much intertwined, is to ask the people who are the dearest to you, who know you the best, whose opinions matter, what they think you are good at. I would ask people from different walks of life, if you are blessed to be surrounded by people from different walks of life, from different aspects of your life, from your home life, your friends, your family, your professional life, your work life, your study life, to really ask them what they think you do best. And you might know some of these things already, you might not, but be open to hearing and receiving what other people see you to offer to the world, because that is what you are currently already offering. And perhaps, you know, through that you'll realize that actually I think I have a lot more to offer. Actually, I didn't know that I offer this already, and I would love to be more conscious and more intentional in how I help people in this way. Another aspect though that I think is important is not to see yourself in your full and holistic form, and not to compartmentalize yourself as being someone who is perceived by outsiders as this and seeing yourself internally as something else. I think the two really complement each other, and it's important to get a balance. So as well as seeking the opinions of others and seeking an external perspective of what your gifts are, you really also need to look inwards and to move inwards into understanding who you are. I would say move inwards and see what emerges from your essence and who you are and who you want to be as well. I think we spend a lot of our time actually defining ourselves in relation to others. We define ourselves in terms of the people that we have relations with. And those things, yes, are part of us and part of our identity, but they are not the essence of who we are. So I would say spend some time getting to know yourself if you haven't already. A very fun and easy way to do this, and it's something that actually me and Natasha did, is the 16 personality test. So you're essentially filling out a questionnaire about personality traits, character traits, and it's compiled in a way that allows you to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, what kind of person you are, where you can get the most satisfaction and fulfillment in your life, and what areas you might perhaps want to work on. But it's about reclaiming, I guess, who you are and understanding that everyone has something to offer to this world, and about, I think, also reframing how you approach other people and what they have to offer you. If we move through the space of arrogance, of thinking that we know everything, of thinking that people don't have anything to offer us, then we're never going to learn from other people. We're never going to get the best out of life, and we end up having a very narrow experience of life. I think one of the most beautiful things is that in allowing your gifts to shine through, you encourage other people's gifts to shine through, and in allowing space for other people to share their gifts with you, you are also allowing an exchange of your gifts to come through too. So this might seem all wishy-washy, but hopefully there is something practical in all of this. And as ever, Natasha and I would love to be a part of your journey in any way, shape or form that you feel is appropriate, really. If you do want to reach out to us, then feel free to check out the links that we have to like all our social media platforms in the description bar below. And if you do want to test the waters for your gifts, that's something we would love to house on any of our social media platforms. So please do get in touch. And all I can say is happy gift sharing and gift searching. Wishing you the best on your journeys, and we look forward to seeing what you discover about yourselves. See you in the next one. Bye!